Rival's kind of just always been known as the powerhouse for console in EU, and I think for very obvious reasons. They've got some former members who used to hang around a little bit on that PC side of things, but when they transitioned over to Xbox, they've been having a very easy switch up, and I think it's very evident in their gameplay. Their strategies are solid. It's just, is Rival still going to maintain that dominance?
Well, Terra and Raven banned away. Rival have the next option for themselves. Below, they'll probably leave up themselves, I guess, so they can get an option of a flex pick. Things are a little bit different on box overall as well, so you may see a couple of differences to do with the terms of bans and picks compared to that of PC. But Susano banned away. I
love the Susano takeaway from Rival. It's just such an annoying guy to deal with, and even if you have that first pick selection, it's very evident that they would rather opt into something else that they feel would be more useful to the team. And that Bologna selection, like you mentioned, it's still on the table, but so is Carnunos.
And Fafnir too.
Exactly. And those are all really strong selections, and it will be the Fafnir picked up first by Team Rival. So Eanix have a couple of options for themselves. Like we said, we mentioned 3 gods there. One of them taken away, so Carnunos and Bologna both available for Eanix to take. They will take Carnunos. Not sure about Bologna though. Is it too early to take Bologna, or... I don't think it's ever too early to take Bologna. She's a relatively safe pick right now, but it looks like Eanix has other things in mind, picking up that Camazotz.
Yeah, no real surprise if Camazotz starts to come back into the meta when people realize that his poke and damage output is just absolutely insane. And his survivability is not terrible because of that ultimate that just takes him out of combat and can help him reposition so much. Running a Camazotz, though, does mean that Eanix probably needs to look for a little bit of a crown control and hard CC at that from somewhere else. And right now they've got the survivability option. I mean, that's been taken care of. Khepri, and that's still a strong combination with the Camazotz because you always have the Khepri Resurrect that you can place on top of the Kama who might be diving the tower, so he doesn't necessarily have to use his ultimate, but you basically get 2 get out of jail free cards. I completely agree. And Rival here, their composition very tanky or survivable is the real talking point here. Fafnir, obviously with the ultimate, he can survive a lot of burst damage. Soul Disapparate does the same sort of thing. And Bologna, she's Bologna. She is Bologna, but I think it's interesting that Rival actually chose to ban away the Nemesis. So they were kind of concerned that there could have been a potential for a dual assassin run by Eanix, and still a smart choice considering that when you have a Bologna and a Fafnir, that's more than enough reasoning to pick up a Nemesis. Completely true. Sun Wukong, the rise to power for that solo lane started to come through now, especially with the bans towards Osiris, Raven, and when Bologna's taken away, it's kind of one of the default ones to go to. Ymir, something we don't see too much, but I do like that pick up against the likes of Khepri and Camazotz. Possible flex pick here as well. That could be a Ymir jungle or it could be a Ymir solo. Depends on where they're trying to take that Bologna. But jungle. Think jungle. I think is jungle. That's what I expect. I thought you were saying thick jungle. Thick jungle. Like, well, yeah, I mean, technically Ymir is kind of thick, so I wouldn't disagree with you on that one. But I also really like the Poseidon. A little bit risky, but it could go either way for Ymir and Poseidon, considering you get that freeze off. Poseidon is just kind of there, but you get the Whirlpool off, and completely agree. Same thing. I think there's a lot of pressure onto the Ymir jungle this game, if it is going to be Ymir jungle. More than likely it must be, though, unless Bologna's going to be going there instead, because Fafnir, not the greatest in the jungle at the start. I wouldn't morally want to put Fafnir into that jungle role, and it is going to be Bologna in the solo lane and Ymir in the jungle, or at least I'm assuming so, because he's got Vanguard and Boombas. Well, Rapio in the mid lane starting things off here. I'm surprised by the Vanguard and not necessarily going for a little bit more damage potential that he could have gone for. Soulstone's an option. Vampiric Shroud for a bit more sustain, but the Vanguard will keep him tanky enough early on. Seeing this out of a lot of teams over on PC, but the console boys will always follow suit with the early ganks in mid from the solo lane. Predators wants this, which means he's probably taking his 72 transformations first of all and trying to execute that Tiger Stun onto Watson or Rapio. Here we go. Predators round the corner. Probably looking for Watson here. He will be level 1, so no Disapparate this time round. The Beetle let him escape from the Whirlpool, and a nice freeze from Rapio with Gnome now rotating in. It's Predators! He went for a cheeky, cheesy first blood kill, and instead it was him that fell down. Well then, I thought for sure that he would look for the Tiger Stun there, and instead he opted for the slow, which I still think is a okay decision. Credit where it's due to Rapio there, because he took Frost at level 1. He took the Frost Breath at level 1. Not something you normally take as a Ymir. You want the Glacial Strike for the wave clear. But I believe he just waited on his ability to see if there was any sort of cheese going on. The right timing was perfect because he froze 2 targets. That allowed Gnome to come in to help provide the needed damage to get Rival that first blood.
I think Gnome probably called out, hey, Predators isn't here. There's probably something suspect happening in the mid lane, and that's exactly what went down. But excellent rotation by Gnome, just immediately running over there, dropping his bludgeon on top of Predators. And that's I wouldn't say embarrassing, but it pretty feels bad, man, when you're the one trying to get the gank off and then you just get completely surprised.
But it doesn't hurt him too much. As you can see, Predators is ahead in levels right now at level 3 up against Gnome, who's level 2. Just because both of them came to that mid lane, neither of them really got any experience whatsoever. Respawn time is at level 1, very short, so a quick teleport. He didn't miss anything in the wave, just gave 400 gold over to Watson in mid on that Soul.
Yeah, but I would not want to give an extra 400 gold to the Soul, especially not with Watson piloting her. And now Oracle Vision actually going to get completely shredded.
Yep.
And it will be secured by Team Rival.
And notice that Rival have gone for the double Hunter comp. Obviously, Sol's not really seen as a Hunter too much, but she has Tower Push, she has fantastic objective clear, and with a Fafnir and a Medusa, Fafnir's coerce when he goes in the ultimate form is going to steroid both those characters to help them provide so much more damage in these fights.
Oh, it's going to be absolutely disgusting on objectives, and Eanix are going to have to play them very carefully, because just as quickly as they are shredding objectives, they can do the same to players. So I would certainly watch my positioning if I were Eanix.
So now still no level 5s in this game just yet. Everyone just farming up. Watson and Rapio will be the closest ones to it. As you see Rapio hitting level 5 right about now. But on your Ymir, you've still got to try and find the prime opportunity. Having that wall on Ymir though in the jungle, when you look at everybody pretty much on the side of Eanix, doesn't have any form of escape to the sky to be able to leap over walls. These walls are going to be a real costly issue for Eanix if Rapio can place them well.
I agree, and on top of that, even with the Vanguard, because of the scaling being so high for Ymir on his on his damaging abilities, I think that it could still be problematic for Eanix if they get caught out in a freeze.
And you can see that he also took Aegis here on this Ymir jungle just to make sure that if he does get all in by a Sunder potentially, instantly Aegis that away, absorb the damage, and he's going to eat a couple of Krakens too, let's be honest. When you're playing Ymir, you're not the most mobile god in the game. Thankfully, though, playing him in the jungle, you do get that speed buff, which helps out a little bit.
I'm kind of anticipating Rapio to opt for a little bit more bruiser build onto this Ymir, kind of that hybrid, that happy hybrid, maybe a Void Stone to help him out with some magical defense. Things like that.
Up against some Wukong here in the lane. Predators doing a good job so far, continuing to keep pace. Neither one of them really have an advantage right now in this lane. As you see the net worth on the left-hand side, not much of a difference between the two, about 30 gold right now in favor of Predators. But once Gnome clear those creeps, back to even.
And Gnome right now, I think it's actually interesting that Predators is still mildly ahead in this lane, considering that he was the one who took the spill for First Blood. And that kind of just goes back to what you initially said. He doesn't really miss out on the experience because of that teleport being available.
Yeah, left-hand Harp is about to come up right now. Rival in position to start taking those down, as Azaric will secure his own speed buff here on the Camazots. Bit surprised we've not seen any aggression out of Camazots or the Ymir just yet after that First Blood. I was expecting to maybe see some potential setups early on, but I guess both of them are looking for a couple more levels before they start that off.
I think it's going to be pretty difficult for Camazots to try and find that aggressive engage that you typically want to see when you pick a Camazots, and it's really just credit to the fact that Rival have such a strong disengage from it. You've got the Soul.
Fury. Left-hand side being started here by Eanix early on. Rival going to respond, and as soon as they do, you can see the wall coverage down by Eanix there on the minimap, that it gave away the positioning of Rival, and just wanted to test whether they were going to arrive in time. I like the call from Eanix, though.
I love that ward from Rival, though, completely spotting out that Eanix was trying to sneak away that Gold Fury. And now that Rival are looking for the Oracle Vision yet again, that's only going to make it even more difficult for Eanix to try and find that cheeky gold.
So Rival are just controlling the Gold Fury pit because of the oracles and the ward placement. Even if Eanix want to try and rotate there, they can always respond in time. And it's actually Rival who have the power play around the Gold Fury yet again with the two Hunters. Although actual secure, Ymir versus Poseidon is kind of close.
I would probably favor that to the Poseidon, just because Kraken doesn't take nearly as long to charge up to the damage you want it to be at.
Completely true indeed. Although Ymir's damage is insane on that ultimate if you can get it off, but like you said, you've got to challenge it up to get the more damage off.
And it looked like Rival had the same kind of idea in mind, just seeing if they could get away with it. It's kind of just like poking the bear. You want to know how far you can actually go.
Exactly. What's going to do back RPs now? Red buff on the left-hand side is the only buffs available in the jungle on the left-hand side of the map for Rival right now. Eanix have 3 members in the mid lane just clearing the wave. And this is all the early game's going to be. It's just a bit of a farm off and looking for people maybe slightly out of position to try and rotate and find a pick.
And I do appreciate the pacing that Rival has chosen to take up with this game. Considering that they were the ones who received the first blood, I think that their draft will be better faring in the mid to late game portions, considering that when you have a double hunter, it just works out so much better in that mid game stage in particular. So you might as well just kind of AFK farm, which is basically what we're watching Watson do.
Well, surprisingly enough, if you look at the gold at the top of the screen, Rival have managed to extend their lead a little bit more than that first blood. That first blood gold is worth 400, but right now they're at 900, so they've got an additional 500 gold here from just superior farming across the map, which is generally those mid camps, the mid Harpies on the left, the mid Harpies on the right, Oracles, and the Elementals.
Having that much map control as well is always just so positive to the team environment, because you just have everybody rotating properly and on those cycles. So it shows that there's a lot of synergy and teamwork really happening on the side of Rival.
Well, Dobson up against Welsh Beast. We've not really mentioned this matchup just yet. Kernanos versus Medusa. Obviously, we're in the laning phase now, so is he just farm off for these two, or does anyone have a boxing potential all-in that's better than the other one?
Welsh Beast probably has a slightly more favorable boxing potential just because his clear with the AoE ability, not only does it have a root from the Medusa, but it's basically guaranteed damage onto Medusa, because unlike Rom, you can't dash backwards right away. You basically have to be looking in that direction. So he's guaranteed the poke, and it could go the same way though for Dobson.
If you can land the acid spits.
Yes.
But the acid spits are a little bit harder to hit, I guess, than the Bramble Blast coming out from that Kernanos.
I would say so every single time, but he does deal a little bit more damage than the current as long as he keeps his distance. With his first ability being active, those auto attacks, the 3 at least, will deal a significant amount of damage.
Well, you just heard that little ching, that little noise was Lono's mask hitting its full stacks, and that is for Fafnir, played by Jacob right now. So some extra health for him, some bonus gold in his coffers as well for the Fafnir. Helps him out against these opposition supports. You can see by the gold difference between the two, it's around 300 to 400 now. And he could potentially invest into that as the Oracles, once again, going to go the way of Rival.
Nice zoning wall by Rapia there. Just trying to keep out Eanix to ensure that his team would secure that vision yet again.
Although Dobson may have some company on this left-hand side. Not sure if he recognized it. He was trying to look around the corner. Azaric still holding the wall. Now Dobson still not seen him. Gets a nice bit of poke off. But after the dash, he'll just take the wave, and that's all he needs to say. Dobson just trying to keep him honest in the lane, if anything else. Make him aware that he could always be rotating from the jungle.
I don't think Dobson wants to try and fight anything just yet. At least not without having another member available on his side. It's just so much safer for the Medusa to slow play this, because his teamfight presence, I think, is probably going to be a little bit stronger. As long as he gets his ultimate off around the corners, I think it could be really problematic for Eanix.
This gold lead just continues to grow for Rival, though, from absolutely nothing. No Gold Furies taken. Paul Doom is not even alive just yet. Eanix is starting to fight back a little bit, I guess, as they do get the Elementals on the right-hand side here. Rival are just doing a better job of farming superiorly for now, which will start to impact when we get to the point of the Gold Fury fights.
It does seem, though, that Eanix is kind of playing this at the pacing that Rival has set. They're not looking for the aggressive routes that you would typically see.
Yeah, surprisingly enough, we're having like Azaric and Dinosaur in the mid lane together now. I'd like to see Azaric play a little bit more aggressive, because Rival should be focusing the Kamazots who's going in on them, which allows Dinosaur to revive him if he's in trouble, and everybody's not paying attention to 50-meter Fly then, who's on a Poseidon that could always just turn up with a big old tasty Kraken and potentially turn the fights in their favor, and that's what they should be looking for time and again here, Eanix. But for now, it's just farming.
Well, for what the teams are lacking as far as aggression is concerned, Predators is making up for it alongside of Gnome. These two have just been going at it the entire time.
Well, you do need to see the patch notes last week, and you know that'll be eventually coming to the console scene, and when that happens, Death Star taking a little bit of a nerf, as well as Bellona too, and the amount of lifesteal she's getting from that bludgeon, means that Sun Wukong may be the supreme champion in the solo. He's the one that everyone's been going to after Osiris, Bellona, and Raven have been banned away.
I want to see more Chalk.
Could be back. You want to see Chalk back?
I want to see more Chalk. I think that Chalk is a sleeper pick, because he doesn't really do anything besides like press his fourth ability and massive team silence. But I think that Chuck's a lot of fun, and he just deals so much damage. It's kind of hilarious.
I think that's the key with Chuck, is that he's damage and survivability, but he's not much CC. I mean, he's great.
Just there.
But it's just more for the damage than anything you'll ever use at ultimate, I guess. So yeah, he's a damage dealer and a survivor.
But that's perfect for console, I think. These guys love just brawling it out.
That's true, that's true.
So I'm kind of surprised we don't see more.
And big circles, don't forget. That's what Chuck brings too.
He's got a lot of circles in his kit.
He really does. When you think about the fact they can, like... Anyway, enough about Chuck. He's not even in the game. We're just excited about it. But I think Sun Wukong will rise to fame. And I think he'll be like the top pick on this right-hand side in the solo lane for a little while in the future, I believe.
I would have to agree with that. He's already a fairly strong god when it comes to team fighting scenarios, even without the buff. I think that he was always a fairly safe pick. Not necessarily when you were going to win the lane with, but we saw players such as Dimmy over on the PC side of things who would opt into the Sun Wukong pick prior to his buff and do just fine with him in team fights.
Well, Eanix here have picked up so far 3 Sunders in this game. You can see that level 12 Azaric did just hit level 12, sorry. Gets his second relic online, did choose the Sunder option. It works so well with Camazotz though for the amount of poke damage he can get out if he can land the Sunder too, and a full combination. Camazotz can all in you and find the kill.
Well, on the side of Eanix, there's already 3 Sunders in comparison to Rivals 1.
Do you listen to me ever?
Yes, but I just can't believe.
I just said that.
It was just one of those things.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, because 90% of it's BM, and sometimes it does just like start to filter through.
Oh, so you just blank out the BM. You think everything I say is BM. Okay. Well, Rapio's level 12 now. We'll see as he heads back to base on that Ymir what relic he chooses, as do the rest of Rival. None of them have really headed back to base just yet. A little bit off the pace, though, is Jacob HL here. Bit surprised to see a Fafnir behind the pace of experience, especially when he's got that coerce to his name. He can coerce a Medusa in lane, like here, walk away and still get experience because he's dealing damage to that wave still. One thing a lot of the supporters I think underestimate is how strong Fafnir is at the rotation ability of still getting farm while moving to another lane.
Yeah, I really don't see a lot of Fafnirs doing that at all.
Surprising.
Ever. So
I don't think many people recognize that you still get the golden experience. All you have to do is coerce the hunter, coerce the mid laner, and leave the lane. As long as they clear the lane in a substantial fashion where coerce is still active or just coming to an end, then you will get the golden experience, and it allows you to rotate around the map a little bit quicker than your opposition all the time.
That's actually a pretty fun fact. Like I would have never.
I'm a teacher, you see?
Yeah.
I'm a teacher from the support role sometimes. And that's why I'm surprised in bringing it up, is because Jacob has the potential to be ahead of Dinosaur and the Capri at this stage of the game. When you think about the fact that Rival are up in gold, Rival are also up in a little bit in terms of experience right now. But hold that thought, Eanix has started the Gold Fury, resetting it once more as Rival show their face.
They don't want to take up this team fight just yet against Dobson, Jacob, or Rapio. And I can't blame them either. There's just so much team fighting presence from Rivals draft. I would probably have to favor it in that regard just because of the fact that Eanix drafted more for the single target all-in burst. I mean, you've got the Sunders and Poseidon alongside of a Camazotz who's like the ultimate, I'm going to chase down one target in particular god.
No Mega Spreader is still continuing to go on, but now Rival have seen an opportunity to start the Gold Fury up. Don't forget it's 200s as we mentioned, and Jacob with the coerce, Rappi around the corner, going to get the beads out of fly though, and that seems to be the plan, was trying to bait in Eanix and find a pick. They get the beads, but that's all they're going to get right now.
But having beats down on Poseidon against an Ymir and a Fafnir, that is almost it's pretty much guaranteeing the zoning from 50-meter fly.
You're right, and Fly would love to go back to base and get his second relic, but I don't think Rival want to let that happen. Bursting it down with Gnome and Rapio on zone duty. No one's coming to the Gold Fury. The wall from Rapio is good enough, and Rival take a free goal, just using their team comp to the best possible advantages.
And that's all they're waiting for, and now Osric forced to use his purification, but he's not going to be able to go in. Oh, yes, he is, and now it's actually the Kraken, but missing everybody.
And now in goes Predators once again, a little bit low on health. Rapio misses the freeze, and Rapio will fall down any second if Azaric has anything to do with it. Leaping in place to body block and actually zone him out. Azaric picks up the kill. Rival make a big mistake there for me, Taco. They get the goal. They could have just walked away. They decided to take a fight.
They needed to just disengage, but I think Dobson kind of baited the rest of his team by dashing towards Osric in that left-hand Harpy section.
And that just caused them now for Eanix to be able to rotate straight to the right-hand side, look towards this Portal Demon. Everybody on Rival had to either go back to base, die, died or used their ultimates in that last engagement means they can't contest Eanix get a Portal Demon for free.
And plus Watson used his clear on the wave, which I can't blame him for doing, because the likelihood of him stealing away that Portal Demon against the entire squad of Eanix is basically non-existent.
But that was the one mistake I've seen Rival make so far. Get gold, back out.
It was such a great zone by Rapio,
beautiful.
too.
But then they chose to take a fight that they didn't really have any business being involved in. The whole of the enemy team still had their ultimates available. They still were in a better position grouped up, and against a Poseidon, you're going to have bad times.
I think they just got a little bit greedy thinking about that Fafnir coerce buff being procced onto Dobson.
Yeah.
And again, just a little bit more, Dobson just needed to relax for a second there. Just take a second to recollect himself, realize, okay, maybe this isn't the circumstance I want to dash into.
Well, 2-1 is the scoreline now, and you can see the gold is in Rival's favor down to the Gold Fury. It's definitely worth more than the Portal Demon, as you can tell, but the experience is still even, so Eanix have done a good job, based off the fact they lost the gold, of getting back into this game after the fight that Rival initiated.
Now, if you're dead, you're unable to farm, so I think that that's really what permitted Eanix to catch up that little bit of an XP disparity that Rival was starting to establish.
For sure. Jacob's got to learn, though, to use Coerce on that Fafnir. I'm telling him now, 293 player damage as a Fafnir is really low. At 16 minutes in, I don't think I've seen numbers like that for a while.
I think he's just been playing it really, really safe alongside of his team. He's kind of just been waiting for Rapio to get his freeze off, and then he's looking for the follow-up hammer stun, which I can kind of understand, but I do agree. I would like to see him play this god a little bit more aggressively.
Engaging mid. Rapio going to wall off Predators, which was a nice wall, noticing the rotation was coming, thanks to probably a call from Gnome there, and the wall coverage they have in the jungle. So Rival avoid a little bit of an engagement from Eanix. I like that little play.
I like the decision-making, because he could have opted to just try and wall off the members of Eanix that were already in the mid lane, but probably safer to prevent a massive slow coming through from Predators on the Sun Wukong.
Well, Oracles are about to come up, but Dobson's prioritizing them over the minion wave in the left-hand side that he's just losing to the tower there. So Dobson dropping a bit of experience here for free. Welsh Beast turns up, looking to try and secure at least one of these. He won't get either, unfortunately, as it goes the wave Rival once more.
I like that choice, because I think that the Oracles, it was only, I think it was 3 archers that was remaining in that wave, and I think it's safer to have the Oracle vision just so you're guaranteed a free ward and can place your wards elsewhere on the map to prevent any sort of ganks.
Well, now Rapio has gone back to base. We mentioned earlier when he was looking for a second relic. He went for that blink option now, which is going to help him out quite a lot for the engagement potential coming out from Rival here, because outside of Rapio blink freezing or wall freezing, there's not massive amounts of engagement unless you really want the Eagle's rally to be used.
Well, it's not even just that. It's that he doesn't really need purification beads, which is typically what you'd expect as a secondary active. Maybe not necessarily on an Emir jungle, but it's really just the Khepri who's got that bit of hard CC and Predators with the transformations on the Tiger stun. Other than that, Rapio is relatively safe to get away with building Blink into with the Aegis.
But it's definitely, he is a frontliner. He's building very frontliney with the fact he went Vanguards and now Breastplate of Valor and now the Void Stone too, just making sure he's nice and tanky for his team. Provide a little bit more damage for Watson as well with this item.
He's probably expecting to face tank quite a few Krakens if he's building the Void Stone already.
For sure. I think he was expecting that, but so far Fly's been quite quiet with those Krakens. We just saw that one around that team fight on the left-hand side. It wasn't super accurate and got maximum potential damage out, but it did do a little bit to Rival, which set up Eanix to get those 2 kills.
I think it was mostly Osric in that team fight with the Bat out of Hell was just able to pretty much rain down on top of everybody, because typically you use that for the chase down onto a single target, but when you have an entire team grouped into such a small area, all too easy to secure your damage from the ultimate.
Well, Gold Fury is due to spawn again in 10 seconds time, and we'll see what happens this time round. I wouldn't mind seeing Eanix see if they can bait in Rival again for a fight and maybe take a fight again. This could work out in their favor.
I think Rapio probably just wants to try and force out the actives from 50-meter fall, at least force out his beads, because if he can force out the beads, it's more than good enough, but Eanix already poking down that Gold Fury to half health.
I'm surprised by how quickly they ran away from that with the amount of burst potential they put onto that. Probably a little bit worried about what Watson can do with the Supernova and the Blink Freeze from Rapio too. Yeah, indeed, I forgot about that one.
The Blink Freeze, I think, is what really prevented them from wanting to commit any further onto that Gold Fury. I think that they certainly have the Shred potential to secure it. Speaking of Shred potential, Watson Could have been a little bit of danger there.
Rapio, though, changing his mind. Didn't go for Dinosaur there, where they could have all collapsed onto that Kefri. Instead, he poked out 50-meter Fly, who immediately uses beads in the mid lane. So it's not doom and gloom for Rival on that little small play, especially once again. The last time we saw Fly use his beads like that, they did the Gold Fury, and he had to stay further back.
I respect that decision by Team Rival. I think that it was the right choice to make by Rapio, because now that 50-meter Fly doesn't have his beads available, it just means that Eanix aren't going to be looking for the aggressive engage onto the Gold Fury.
Definitely true. We'll see what happens now. There's 4 members now grouping up from Rival once again at the Gold Fury. Oracle's available, and the wall coverage from Eanix has started to falter on this left-hand side. Dinosaur's going to be the first one on the scene to find out the focus on the Gold Fury was on. But once everybody turns up and Predator's around the back, Dobson's in a bit of trouble here.
And it's Predators, though, who could be getting turned on, but nobody's paying attention to Gnome, who's in the front side, getting completely shredded by everybody on Eanix.
Yeah, this is great work from Predators just to keep them all busy and honest, and now the chase down is on. Eanix have control of this fight right now, looking to pressure out Watson and force as many relics as possible, and they get both of those down to separate too. Watson's still running for his life, but when you're a piggy, you can't run very fast. Welsh Beast still alive in the back of this fight on the right-hand side thanks to the Kefri ultimate, and with a big old Kraken, Eanix win this fight huge, and where they're going to go, it looks straight towards the Portal Demon Fire Giant way seems to be the call. Is it worth trying to go for this, or are they just trying to force tier 1?
I think they just want to force the tier 1 tower. They're a little bit too low to where Jacob and Dobson could probably prevent them from securing the Gold Fury, but they can't stop this tier 1 from falling down. And Jacob, his ultimate's not available to him any longer. Predator's looking for the aggressive route, but just getting the stun to ensure his teammates can get out.
Yeah, because the rest of the Eanix are trying to stop this Gold Fury instead, so Predator's trying to keep them busy as they rotate round. But Jacob turns up here in half health and multiple members of Eanix. The Gold Fury getting very, very low, and who's going to get the Gold Fury is the question. It's Eanix that secure the Gold Fury for themselves. Jacob will not be focused on the way out, though, just to Eanix having too low of mana pools.
Very excellent fight by Eanix, and I think that it's just Rival kind of falling apart when it comes to the shot calling, I would say, because they left Gnome all alone up there, and Predators was completely out of that. I think I would have preferred to see them try and follow up, or just Gnome to back off and not look to engage into 4 members.
It's kind of weird because it almost feels like they don't know how to play with this composition. That's kind of comes across as, because when Predators came around the back, all the damage dealers and Jacob turned their attention to Predators, which left their front line exposed and alone. And the front line's great and tanky and all, but the way the front line works is that it needs backup from the damage dealers to be as useful and potent as they have been before, especially when there's 3 Sunders on the enemy team.
Yeah, Gnome's not going to be super tanky for very long facing off against 3 Sunders, and even just, like I said, it's just pure numbers.
Well, Eanix is going to try to abuse this a little bit more now, looking for the tier 1 tower on the right-hand side, with Welsh Beef is in tow, and the whole of Eanix protecting him. He'll get that tier 1 tower on the right, and Azaric can leap over that wall just in time. Rapio, bad news bears about that one. But with all the members of both teams on this side, it's going to be a wash for now. The dance of the Fire Giant may begin soon, though.
I think the Kefri's also causing a little bit of trouble for Rival, because Rapio could have secured that kill onto Welsh Beast, but he just held his ultimate for so long because he was waiting for that Resurrect to fall off.
Like this call from Rival, they're trying to outposition Eanix and get into this tier 1 tower earlier than Eanix can get here to defend. And Predators is the first one to be focused down a little bit and take some damage pressure. Rapio waiting on zone duty to keep everybody else busy, and that's why the freeze on Dinosaur is there. Predators takes to the sky to make sure he can heal back up again, and as soon as that happens, Rival reset, knowing they got the ultimate out of Predators.
Still pretty healthy as well. Rival can definitely look to re-aggress onto this mid lane tower, knowing that Predator's ultimate is down, because they're not going to have to worry about the Sun Wukong healing up and jumping into that backline.
And this is where Rival's composition is really strong. He's actually on sieging potential and taking objectives with double Hunters as well as the Fafnir and the Ymir for peel and protection. And not only that, you got Gnome disarming people and keeping them busy too. They can just push you under a tower like that, take a tier 1. Jacob popped his ultimate a little bit earlier there. I'm not so sure about that, but they're going to invest on Dinosaur with a full combo. Wall's keeping him pinned in place too, but Dinosaur's so tanky. He's still not dead. He will revive himself too as they invest everything from Rival to bring him down. Dinosaur is still alive.
And I can't believe that he survived for as long as he has. Rival now trying to escape from the Kraken, but it's Ozric giving chase in the bat.
And the Whirlpool comes through. Dobson will escape thanks to a nice stun from Rapio. Predator still wants to get him, and he picks up one. Predator still going in, but no ultimate to continue aggressing. And Rapio and Watson bring him down. It's Hunter with Fafnir up against Welsh Beast and 50-meter Fly. 50-meter Fly's beads are down, but Welsh is going to fall if his Aegis didn't come through there. Bludgeon didn't hit from Gnome, and Gnome's dead! This fight is crazy. Eanix is still winning it, though, just because they have the men advantage of the recalls coming through.
That was such a beautiful wall by Rapio, cutting off Welsh Beast. And now it's Watson, actually, who could be getting caught off guard.
That wall was surprisingly good from Rapio. Watson's still in trouble, though. Has to beat. He was holding onto it, and the minion wave saves the day. Otherwise, that vampiric screech would have caused a couple of problems. But once again, Eanix have the map advantage here. They can swing into the jungle. Surprisingly enough, they've not checked buffs there, these two, Azeric and Dinosaur, because they would have found speed buff was coming up, and red buff is available to take. Instead, they're only going to find the oracles off this, but it's not all doom and gloom.
That's not too bad of a trade. I think they didn't want to overstay their welcome into the enemy jungle of Rival. And I respect the safe call out there, but I'm really surprised at just how awkward these engagements have seemed for Rival, and beautifully counter-engaged by Eanix.
I mean, everyone was saying Rival's the best team in Europe, and they thought it so themselves. You know, they're the ones that have always come out on top, but right now, Eanix are really putting a beat down on them. It's been Rival that have made multiple mistakes, and Eanix have been punishing them time and time again in the team fights, which have given the window for Eanix to then, after the team fight that they've won, get the objectives back they may have lost previously.
But that's what you want to see, though, is these teams and just how they're progressing. And it just seems like, as a whole, the EU region has significantly grown in comparison to even the last split.
That's true indeed, at least out of the first set we saw today and this one too. Europe is starting to catch up just a little bit right now. We'll see once we get to some lands once more with North Americans. Welsh Beast, though, getting all in by Dobson, and that was clean as it can get. Absolutely
Full
clean.
HP.
Petrify into the Lacerating Acid Spit and just auto down, and there was nothing Welsh Beast could do with no beads and no Aegis. And now Rival, on an individual play coming out from Dobson here, have a chance to get another objective on the left where Eanix are just not in a position to contest.
That play by Dobson is the little bit, it's the spark of life that Rival really needed.
That could be game-changing right now, I'm not going to be lie. Wasn't able to poke under the tower, 3 members here, Predator's rotating around the side, but the focus is onto Dinosaur right now. And Dinosaur will get his ultimate on himself, but he's still in trouble, as is Watson. But with Gnome coming in, the extra protections will help to keep Watson alive for the time being. Predators has already gone to the Sun Cloud as a nice storm to Azeric. He's going to force his beats and make him run, but straight into a wall where Jacob will pick him down with the in-hand damage from a dragon. Predator's clone will now go down as it's only Predators and 50-meter flying under this tier 2 tower, and I don't think Rival will care about them being there with having 2 hunters once again. And then Fafnir, they'll get a tier 2 and win the first team fight they've had so far this game.
The tier 2 isn't the only thing that's on the board right now either. Gold Fury is back up, and it's looking like it's going to be all Rivals. Literally nobody to contest from Eanix, and we were just commending Eanix for capitalizing onto Rivals' mistakes, and that one solo kill play from Dobson just completely causes the swing to commence.
You mentioned earlier on in the first cast with F-Dot, domino effect is something that can happen in the game. Surprisingly enough, Eanix were in control of this game, but that one individual play of Dobson against Welsh Beast, where Welsh Beast gets caught out in an awkward position, eats that Petrify in the full combo, means Rival not only get a Gold Fury, they get a tier 1, a tier 2, and the Portal Demon. And if you go to the graphs, you'll see the swing. The graphs will tell you everything to do with this game.
Look at that experience. Like the way that it just plummets. It's just so far down, and then it just completely changes all the way to Rival's favor. Same for the gold. These are massive swings, considering how unexpected it typically is. I mean, granted, 4 gold doesn't seem like too much 28 minutes into a game, but it's huge when it's coming all at once.
Still trying to get Predators on this right-hand side as Rival actually dive in the tier 1 tower for this. A little bit risky, but no, when Eanix is there, they will back away for now with the minions now coming in. They don't have a full minion wave with them as there's still minions further down the lane. Predators eating a little bit of poke as the Acid Spit comes out too. Rapio trying to force it a little bit more of a nice freeze, but he gets hit by a Whirlpool and has to back away and uses his Aegis very early on there, worried about the amount of damage that could come out. But still, Rival pressuring the tier 1.
I think he really expected the Kraken to fall through as soon as he was underneath that T1 tower, but luckily for Eanix, they are able to hold on to it for now, and Predator is already expending his TP to come back into the lane.
Yeah, TP back very early, worried about the little damage that he did take. Bought a potion here as well. You know, it's a potion of might he's got on himself, and I believe that's just to realize this fight is very important. It's still even between these teams. Yeah, there's a small goal lead for Rival, but the way this is going, it could be anyone's game.
And that little bit of physical damage that he just acquired from that 500 pot is probably going to be enough to make sure that Rival is playing this as safe as possible. I think they really just want to force Dinosaur to use his ultimate on himself himself again.
Still really tricky for either team to try and take a team fight with all 5 still standing. Rival still trying to poke out this tower. But the problem is that Eanix are happy to hold here. This is delaying everybody continuing to farm and get experience in this game and finish off some items. Or even look around the map for farm that's available. Speed buffs and red buffs are up, but here goes Rapio.
And immediately, Dinosaur, he's stunned out. He can't even drop the ultimate. Beautifully played by Rapio with the blink ult. Dobson now just going to town on everybody on Eanix.
Azaric
firing in hands.
Got out of trouble so quickly. They got in so much trouble there. He didn't get a chance to ultimate out of the danger zone. Got bursted down before that Camazotz could make an impact in the fight. Because of that, Rival get the tier 1 tower, 2 kills. And they may be cheeky enough to look at this Fire Giant now with the fact the Fafnir's here.
The Fafnir's, this is theirs. Everybody had to back.
Predators.
It's only Predators lurking around the corner,
right.
But I don't think Predators wants to step into a Fire Giant pit knowing that almost every single member of Rival is there. It was only Rapio who was on his speed buff, but having a Soul and Medusa with the Coerce buff is more than enough to shred him pretty much instantly.
31 minutes in, and now Rival take the lead in this game. Not just because of the towers, really. It's the Fire Giant buff now being around their waist. It's extra damage, extra survivability because of the regeneration, and towers will shred even quicker.
It's actually insane seeing just how much a team can acquire off of something that seems so menial. Like, typically when you get soloed, it's like, oh, well, this sucks. I mean, I got soloed, but it's not just getting soloed at a competitive level. Like,
no, it's more than that.
Your team is going to lose so much, which is what makes those ADC 1v1s so risky in that duo lane.
And it's not just the 1v1 in duo lane, it's also the 1v1 in solo, for example. If you lose the solo lane and get soloed there, it means that solo lane can either rotate round, cause some problems in the mid lane, or around the Gold Fury, make a 4v5 fight. Or take a tier 1 tower for free in this right-hand side and just give the whole team global gun that is influencing the other lanes.
I just love the decision to commit by Rival as immediately. Right after Dobson secured that, there was no hesitation. Their entire team immediately rotated over and just looked to secure everything.
Making full use of this buff right now. Rapio happy to tank up for his team, gives it over towards Gnome, and then the freeze comes out onto 3. Dinosaur gets hit 2. Kraken from 50-meter fly wasn't perfect yet again. Predator's forced to ult and buy some time. Jacob's tanking up a little bit more than he should, so he has to leave her way, wait for some regeneration from this Fire Giant buff one more time. But a lot of ultimates were invested by Eanix there, not a single one from Rival.
Watson doesn't even care, and neither does Rapio as he blinks in yet again. Dinosaur, he can't use his ult. He's getting CC'd out for way too long. The follow-up chain is so strong by Rival.
And now in a 5v4 without the revive available for Eanix. Now they're going to invest a little bit more into Azaric to force him out again. Rival don't want to, they're not sure if they want to hang around this right-hand side here is the real issue. Do we go for the Phoenix here? Do we look for the other lanes? It looks like they're going to commit here.
They might as well just commit onto this right-hand Phoenix. Sure, it's not the favorable Phoenix considering it's on the Fire Giant side, but with Predator's already so far poked out, no, pushing him back even further, and 2 Hunters and a Fafnir. It's the same story every time.
Been saying it since the start, but yeah, now they're going to be able to rotate towards the mid lane with this Fire Giant. They've not really lost much of this Fire Giant so far, Taco.
And I still think that that's a pretty significant impact, though, as far as team morale is concerned. Eanix were in complete control. I wouldn't say complete control, actually. That's a little bit too exaggerated. But they had a solid handle of the game up until that solo by Dobson.
Sure, that's true indeed. 33 minutes in. Quick pause coming out here between the two teams. It's 8-7 as the Portal Demon goes down. It's 10,000 gold lead for Rival at this point, Taco. And the Fire Giant buff and 1 Phoenix down. It's going to be rough for Eanix to get back into this. How is their wave clear on defense? I mean, they've been doing a good job of it, I guess, at those towers.
It's not even the wave clear. It's just Rapio catching them. It's just the steady poke of the Amir with the freezes, and then he just all-ins. When he blinks in, he's catching that freeze onto Dinosaur every single time, and as a Kepri, your hitbox just so massive. Sure. You have nowhere left to go, and because of that, Gnome just follows up with the Eagles rally, and he's just CC'd forever because of the Fafnir hammer stun, the Eagles rally, the blink freeze. It's nowhere to go.
Well, freeze misses from Rapio, as does the Stellar Burst. Predator's pinned in place by a lovely wall yet again. Knowing the combo's nice, but the Sun Wukong Suns will come to the rescue, as will Welsh Beast, making everyone a little piggy for a time being. Eanix poking them out a little bit more, but now Rival feeling a little bit healthier once again, with the Fire Giant buff just ticking them back to full health. Continue their assault.
Welsh Beast ultimate was actually really impactful in that team fight, because had he not landed it onto practically every single member of Rival, I think that they would have looked to pursue that a little bit further.
Yeah, completely agree. I think the one thing Eanix needs to do, though, when they're trying to defend these towers is whoever has the aggro from the tower, they need to focus that one down. Because right now you see Rapio go in, then you see Gnome go in, and they're juggling aggro pretty well, Rival here. But if they get abused of the moment Eanix recognizes that, if they CC that person taking the aggro, hit them with the Sunder, potentially look for the all-in, that could cause them a lot more problems for Rival trying to get this composition going. Because all those tanks are trying to do is buy enough of a window and enough focus to allow Dobson and Watson to get the damage off onto the objective.
And I mean, that's really all you need sometimes, though, is Eanix to keep leaving open that member, because Rival are going to take that opportunity and run away with it every single time. They're an experienced enough team where normally I think most teams looking at the position that Rival was in prior to that dual lane solo kill would have thought that, I mean, a lot of teams have been like, what are we doing? Like, how do we fight into this? Because those team fights were not looking hot.
Well, as the game progresses, you can see just how much the Sol can do from this mid lane position as time has gone on. Now up to 26,000 damage. Predators have been top of the shop for a long time. But now we get to the team fight stage. These Stellar Bursts, these Supernovas, and that in-hand basic damage from that Sol causing so many issues for Eanix, and it's very hard to pin down a Sol.
He doesn't even have Fatalis on the Sol. He opted for the Ethereal Staff. And I think that would probably be the item to look to replace if you wanted to opt for that Fatalis route.
Gives him a bit of health though, right?
It gives him a bit of health, and it's got power, and Ethereal Staff is by no means a bad item. It's just that typically on a Soul, most people like to favor that Fatalis, and the rest of that build is pretty standard other than that item.
Well, we'll see if he just switch it up. At the moment, the Fire Giant has respawned. Eanix have to defend this right-hand lane as well from the Fire Minions pouring in, but they're not doing so right now. They're busy trying to keep an eye on this Fire Giant that has been started by Rival. Fatalis on Dobson right now, so he's got the extra mobility that Medusa definitely loves. Dinosaur, the first one trying to break through, calling to his team that the Fire Giant's getting low. Gets a bit of poke damage onto it. Fire Giant's still aggro, but Dinosaur's got the aggro over and he won't want it. Now he's going to switch towards the Gnome at the same time, but still the ultimate is down. Lazaric on the backside doing away with Predators. Watson's running for his life, but he's still alive.
And Watson trying to hide behind the rest of his team as Welsh Beast was looking to clean him up, but he gets Dinosaur instead. And did you see Rapio with the drive by Glacial Strike?
And that fight from Eanix was pretty solid, honestly, overall. They managed to defend the Fire Giant for a moment, but then Rival ended up getting it. The bad news is that the regeneration now coming through from Rival is going to be an issue, and the Phoenix on the right-hand side as Fire Minions pouring in means they could lose this middle Phoenix at the same time.
Rival were still tanking that Fire Giant, which is why the health hadn't started resetting on it yet. And Fly dropped the Kraken on top of it, leaving it at like 1 HP.
He tried to make the play on it, didn't manage to make it. Middle Phoenix goes down, right-hand Phoenix soon to follow, and Eanix still only have 3 members to defend here.
I think that this was a very strong attempt by Eanix, all things considered. I think that it's still evident that this team is progressing, but it's about to be, there's no way this Titan holds out for much longer. Rival weren't even interested in looking for the kills. They just wanted that Titan.